It definitely reminds me of the foreskin duo a lot, but I honestly find these guys to be a lot less annoying. They would certainly be a welcome change of pace from the foreskin duo. No matter how many times you fight the Watcher and Defender, it's always a spectacle to behold. The cool backflips, the being chased by 20-foot tall zombie knights, it's just a recipe for badassness. Now, if I had to assign these two a day, I would say they would almost definitely be a day one boss, or bosses, I guess. If these guys were tweaked a bit more to Nightreign standards, they would be a force to be reckoned with. But probably not one that would make you want to rip your hair out. It would take a pretty decent amount of teamwork and strategizing to take these two down in a timely fashion, so I think they would sit on the higher end of the day one difficulty scale. Now, it's time for number 3. This next boss is probably the best boss from Dark Souls 2, the Last Giant. Nah, I'm just fucking with you guys. We already have the Last Giant at home. Shout out Guardian Golem. The actual next boss I'd like to see return is the Looking Glass Knight. This dude is all sorts of hard, and he has some really cool mechanics to accompany him. When I encountered him on my first Dark Souls 2 playthrough, he took me by surprise. Not only was he a huge pain in the ass, but he had a bunch of surprises in store. Firstly, he's very tanky, and he has some pretty sick lightning attacks. He hits hard, like a lot of Dark Souls 2 bosses. But the coolest thing about this boss is that he actually has the ability to summon other players to beat your ass for him. This is such a cool mechanic, and it's very reminiscent of the old monk from Demon's Souls, or even Half-Light Spear of the Church from Dark Souls 3. The cool thing is, unlike the previous two bosses I just mentioned, the Mirror Knight is a regular boss mixed with the player boss, which is something FromSoft has yet to replicate. He can also summon NPCs instead if you're offline, which leads into the possibility of how this fight would work in Nightreign. Instead of him summoning other players, he can summon the Night Invaders that appear in Nightreign during the Cataclysm event. They're already balanced for player encounters. Well, I mean, they're super fucking hard, but you know what I'm saying. So FromSoft wouldn't have to pull a new mechanic out of their ass for this fight. Honestly, I think Mirror Knight is probably one of the bosses that would fit into Nightreign the most on this list. And if I had to assign a day to him, I would honestly say day 2. He's fun, but he would still be a pretty decent challenge. Now, it's time for number 2. At number 2, we have Nashandra. Nashandra is a very odd boss. And while she didn't disappoint as a final boss, the whole fight just kind of had off vibes when I first encountered her. But I still dug it. It was actually kind of creepy in a way. You might be asking yourself, why did I pick Nashandra? And to be honest, it's just because she's a really cool fight. She's pretty strong, and some of her attacks can wipe you out pretty fast. She doesn't move around all that much, but she has really intense crowd control moves that can destroy a few Nightbearers with little effort. She's a pretty slow boss, but the main thing that keeps her from being smushed into a fine pace by a group of Chads is her cursed blob goo. She summons this stuff super frequently throughout her fight, and it could very easily make it hard for a team to succeed if they aren't cooperating. In Dark Souls 2, becoming cursed would make you instantly hollow and reduce your max health. For Nightreign, they would probably just keep it to a health reduction more than likely, or maybe just straight up switch out the curse buildup with Death Blight. That would actually make Nashandra even more of a threat. She also has some pretty decent scythe attacks that do nice damage, and some beam attacks that absolutely melt your health bar.